Anin, everybody. Give another minute or two for people to log on. Well, we can get started. I start off all my meetings with that good old smudge for everybody. Prayers to everybody out there. Let me introduce myself here. I'm Wasi Kamagabo and Disneykas, Msaiga Gang and Dujaba, Wasisi Dudame. I'm Randall Sam from Mille Lacs, Minnesota, from the Bullhead Clan. I am honored to be asked to do the live feed on the Red Road Warrior page tonight. But I can get into, how I started, what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. I'm a member of a lot of recovery groups, AA, NA, CMA, member of Sobriety. And I do that because I am recovering from everything since I came into recovery. So, when I introduce myself in meetings, I just say I'm Randall, I'm in recovery. And that pretty much explains it all, with this new life that I found with the tools of recovery. So I'm 45 years old. I live here in Mille Lacs, Minnesota. I've been sober for 26 months, I believe. I don't know, what is the date? Yeah, like 26 months. March 17th, 2018 is when I decided to sober up. Now, I'll tell you one thing. When I decided to quit, my plan was just to get sober and get healthy for a while. Because I didn't know that I would grow in recovery and start realizing what the rooms really had to offer. My plan was just to sober up, move away somewhere, and come back to my res when I was healthy enough. But the Creator had a different plan for me. When I sobered up, I had to do it right here in Mille Lacs, right here where I did most of my use, where I had most of my carnage going. And it worked. It worked. Creator had my back. Group of fellows had my back, and thankfully today I'm still sober. So, getting to what it was like. I started drinking, experimenting with drugs very young age. I say my first beer was probably about the age of 10. We all have that same progressive story, how our alcoholism turned into addiction and turned into almost death for me. I remember from the time I was 13 to 18 years old, I did about 4 years behind bars, and everything that I was behind bars for was alcohol related. I remember that judges, POs, used to tell me that I had a problem with alcohol, especially the police officers from Pacifica, California, all knew that I had an alcohol problem. And I was forced to go to AA and to get card signed. But at that time, I was just one of the, young guys in the back, just there to get my card signed. I wasn't listening. And I knew I had a problem with alcohol, because it turned into an everyday thing. Everything I had to do with alcohol. If I was going to the beach, I had to bring some beer. If I was going to school, I had to smoke a joint first, and I thought that was a cool lifestyle. I thought that was a California lifestyle. I was born here in Minnesota, here in Onamia, but I was raised, with the relocation program out in California. And, I just thought that's how life was, man. I thought, and getting in trouble, to me, that was the social norm. That was just how it was. No matter what city I moved to, I always thought that I found the cool kids, or the cool kids found me. And, after, started going to jail, started going to, that progression, with theft and, fighting and, stealing, gang banging, it just had a lot of toll on my life. Sitting inside of a cell, I've done the math that roughly how much time I've done, man. I've done nearly like 15 years. My longest stretch was 2.5 years in prison, but still, that's a lot of overnighters, in county jails and everything. And it just didn't turn out too well. So, I drank for over 30 years and found out that I was diabetic when I was about 32 years old. I was out in California and I was on a bender. I was going through a breakup, and I was out there doing volunteer work for Habitat for Humanity. And man, this pain just hit my stomach, man. And that was the first time I ever caught pancreatitis. Those of you alcoholics out there who hit it hard know what pancreatitis is and knows that that's no joke. But I've had pancreatitis 6 times in my life. And it is one of the worst pains that you can go through as a human. And I remember when I was in the hospital out there, they asked me, "Have you been taking your diabetes medication?" And I was like, "I'm not diabetic, And sure enough, when I came back home to Minnesota, I went and got tested and found out that I was diabetic, and I've been insulin dependent ever since. So that's kind of leading to me where I'm going to my story with addiction. Um, I continued drinking after I found out I was diabetic, in and out of the hospital with pancreatitis. And when I was about 40 years old, I got off, when I was about 42, I got off parole. I was about 41. Yeah, I got off parole. I was on probation for over 30 years, different agencies, and so I got off parole, and you know how that goes. No more UAs, no more monkey on the back. I can do what I want. And addiction. I started sampling with methamphetamine really hard. During my alcoholism, it was just weed, cocaine, crack, everything. Man, I was a junkie, bro. And no matter what it was, I had to try it once, whether I liked it or not, I had to try it. And that's just how it was. But so around when I was about 41 years old, I started experimenting with meth. And, with that, here comes the weight loss. So I lost a lot of weight. And in my mind, boom, hey, I beat diabetes. I'm not diabetic no more. Man, was I wrong. In a matter of 3 years, I went from 269, a good healthy 269, to I think the lowest I weighed myself was 105 pounds. I walked into the doctor's office with my size 1 jeans on, and I still had a belt on. I couldn't even walk. I was in a wheelchair. And I was skinny, and I remember my doctor telling me too that she didn't think I was going to survive. She knew I was in addiction, and but it don't really matter who tells you that you're sick. Until you can admit it yourself that you need help. I wasn't listening, and her suggestion to me was, drink Bacardi diets. There's no sugar, and I took that for a while, but man, I was just a heavy beer drinker. So, here comes my diabetes is out of control, and those that are diabetic know that when your sugars are high, when your A1C is off the chart, um, you have no energy. You can just lay there and sleep for a month and just no energy to get up, barely enough energy to get up and eat. And that's what was happening to me until I started relying on methamphetamine, and I couldn't accomplish nothing unless I had some methamphetamine. And I worked the process with that too. I started off just snorting it. Then I went to smoking it. In my last 6 months of addiction, I went to shooting it, IV use. And, methamphetamine was my DOC, was my drug of choice. When I didn't have meth, though, I had substitute for another, and, that was heroin. Heroin wasn't a great favor of mine, but I did it anyway, and one of the things that finally got me to sober up is somebody showed up here at my house, and I was outside mowing my grass, and first thing I asked them if they had any G, if they had any meth, and they said no, but they gave me this little pink stuff, this little baggy stuff, and I never tried it before. Anyways, I came in, I did a little line of it, not much, and I was outside mowing my grass again. When I came to, my lawnmower stuck against a tree with the tire still spinning. And I knew what was happening to me. I was ODing. I was home alone. And I remember I come running into the house, and I was standing in the kitchen. I was splashing water on my face. And that's the last thing I remember. I came to like 2 hours later, and I was laying on my kitchen floor. And one thing I really remember about that moment is the loneliness, the silence that came, because I didn't know what would happen. I didn't know what happened, man. I didn't, I just kind of laid there like, wow, what just happened? And it kind of clicked to me. I was like, man, that wasn't an OD. I just took a nap. That's how it is. We don't know what happens to our body at that time, but I remember I sat down on my couch after that, and I was just really worried. I was kind of thankful that I was alive, because I was scared, and I didn't reach out that day. I still had more of that pink stuff for the next few days. I just took a little bit, and it was 2 weeks after that, March 17th, 2018, is when I decided to sober up. So I started, I used to sell drugs during the day to go gamble all night. And now that hustle and everything was done, I was sitting there, I was broke. I didn't have no cigarettes. I didn't have no food, no nothing. And I was always watching, Facebook. And I seen a friend of mine, or my cousin actually, she was, on Facebook bragging, I have 30 days sober, I have 45 days sober, 60 days sober. And after my third day, I was done detoxing, and boredom started to set in. So it was then I knew I wasn't going to be able to make it. I wasn't going to be able to stay sober alone. I needed help. So, I was curious. So I reached out to my cousin, and I asked her, after reading her post on Facebook saying, how did you do it? And she wrote back 2 words, and they said Sober Squad. And my first notion was, man, I'm not going to call these guys, because I seen these guys smudge walking the neighborhood and making noise, making recovery loud. And, I was like, no, I'm not going to call them. But she called somebody for me. And 15 minutes later, there was this guy here. I parked at my house. I never met before. And, he brought me to my first sobriety meeting. Now, when I went to that sobriety meeting, they were drumming. They were having a good time drumming. I was too intimidated. I didn't feel clean enough to sit down at the drum. So I just sat back and watched. And, it was like 2 days after that, too, or the next night, I went to my first AA meeting. And, I remember all I said was, I'm Randall, I'm an alcoholic addict. And this release came off my, like, just, I got all teared up and everything. I said my allergies were acting up, and that's all I had to say was pass. But I think it was there in that meeting is when I surrendered, when I realized how powerless I am over alcohol and drugs. And I knew then and there, I really needed help. I needed the rooms of recovery to keep me alive, It was a very trying moment, but one thing I got to really give credit for that got me through my sobriety, or to where I'm at today, is the fellowship. It wasn't my friends and family, who supported me through this. It was complete strangers coming out like cockroaches, as somebody phrased it. When you come into recovery, you start looking for the positive, and you start seeing positive people. You start seeing, the light, like this little recovery baby was growing inside of me, and I remember when I first started sharing my story, I was in an AA meeting after I got out of treatment. I was in an AA meeting, and the reading was about the guy that just sits in the corner, introduces himself, and says, "I pass." But the reading that day had to do with about the newcomer being intimidated by a bunch of sobriety, surrounded by a bunch of sobriety. And I was in there with a bunch of old timers, and it was there where I decided I'm going to start speaking up. I'm going to start participating in what's going on here with AA and NA and any recovery group. So I started participating. I started speaking, and you know I got a good story to tell. I got a lot of experience with alcoholism and addiction, and I didn't know that today would inspire people. That inspires people to watch people like us that come from the gutter, to start succeeding, to just being leading a normal life, holding a little steady part-time job, or, just making enough money, just enough to eat, and, whatever, we're okay with that. I'm okay with that. So as I started growing in recovery, we come into the rooms, we're feeling hopeless. We don't believe in our higher power. We're just we're stuck in our own little minds. And as we start going in recovery, we start finding out gifts that we got. Why we're here. I believe that every human in the world, at least one time in their life, will know why they are here, on this earth. And I started to find mine out. My white aunt told me a long time ago that I'm here to help people. And, that was back when I went through Lodge back in about 2014. And, when I was really taking part in ceremony and everything, I really wasn't claiming sobriety, but I stayed sober for 1 year, just helping out with funerals and helping out with Medewin and, whatever needed to be helped with. I was doing it. So I remember after that 1 year, once I thought I had it all figured out, I quit attending. I quit doing a lot of stuff. And the first day I went back drinking, it was the first day I wound up right back in jail on my way back to prison to do 2 more years. So I'm starting to recognize a pattern here, So that's why when I got off paper, I filled my void of not drinking no more with addiction. And it really took a toll on me, man. It was a rough ride. So I was to the point where I started speaking out and sharing my story. And I remember these guys in these groups, they'd be yelling around saying, "I love this stuff," and I'm being respectful. I'm on a well-variety meeting here, so I'm not going to swear. But I love this SHIT, and I used to look at them like, "Man, you're crazy, dude." But then I remember I was going through a problem one day, and I needed help. So I went and hit 3 meetings in one day, and I went and hit one the next day. And it was that next day is when I found out about going to meetings to find a solution. I found a solution to my problem, that problem I was going through that was really weighing me down. And when I left that meeting, I felt free. I found my first pink cloud. I found what recovery actually does. And I've been growing on that ever since. Every time I'm feeling down and out or something, I go find a newcomer, or I go take a ride to a meeting, or I surround myself with good, positive people. I surround myself with people that want to see me get better, that appreciate what I'm doing, and that comes good because I appreciate what I'm doing too. I can look people in the eyes today and tell them I love them, man. I can walk by a mirror and look at you and say, "Man, I love you, dude." And I got to thank Creator for that, because when I was in my worst, man, I kind of pushed away a lot of people. I pushed away a lot of friends. I pushed away a lot of family. I pushed away my higher power. I used to think it was just me, and I was stuck in that wheelchair for a couple of years, man. I was mad that I wasn't one of the ones that passed on, because I didn't want to be here. I didn't want to be stuck in this wheelchair for the rest of for another day, but I was too chicken shit to pull the trigger myself. Um, and I am very grateful today that Creator has kept me here to share my experience, strength, and hope, especially with the guys with diabetes. My feet were they were rotten. They were really they're in bad shape. They're the size of footballs. I developed osteoporosis. Partial paralysis in my legs. I don't feel them, but I'm grateful enough I can walk on them today. If I cut my foot or something, I don't even know it. My legs are numb, but I can still use them. I can still walk today. So I'm really grateful for that. I can even run with my son today. Super grateful for that, because when he was 2 years old and he would take off running towards the road and I couldn't catch him, man, I felt like I was worthless. It was a really, really tough time in my addiction, but I didn't see it as a tough time then. I look at it now just like, wow, that was rough, but I'm healthy today. I got my diabetes under control. I'm growing mentally, physically, and I'm learning to accept life on life's terms. I got this serenity prayer right behind me. Um, I'm a meeting maker. Since this COVID hit, that's up. One of my favorite elders here in Mille Lacs diagnosed with COVID today, so I want to send a prayer out to him, to his family, to his grandkids. He's a huge part of my recovery, and I heard bad news that he was diagnosed with COVID-19 today. So hopefully he's okay. And it really sucks we can't go visit. A prayer out to him. Um, and back now, where was I? Growing with the program, I guess. Surrounding yourself with good people. I put myself out there with my sobriety. I recover loudly, so people don't have to die quietly. I think that's how that goes. And there's another saying that I like too, is do something today that your future self will thank you for, you know. And so at night, about a week ago, I was doing a personal inventory on myself, and 3 nights in a row, I remember saying, "Man, I went through today without hurting anybody's feelings, without having to make a new amend." I was really proud of myself of that, because I'm practicing a new way of humor. I know we all have a bad sense of humor, a raunchy sense of humor, and I'm really trying to check myself on that, because that can get me floating into a negative pattern. I practice a healthy sense of humor by not making fun of others, not picking on people, because I put that as, say it's me. Say I'm having one of the worst days of my life. Say I'm going through a divorce. Say I got fired from my job. Say I lost a loved one. And all of a sudden here comes somebody sitting here trying to make fun of me and laugh at me. That's not going to feel good. So, I think twice about what I say, before I act, but, I'm not perfect. I got emotions, and sometimes my emotions get a hold of me, and, I might blurt something out or something, it's, I don't mean to do it. I'm working on it. It's progress, not perfection. Um, so, yeah. So, one thing that really carries me today is believing in myself. We show up in the rooms, when we decide to get sober, and we basically, we're hopeless, dopeless, we're in really rough shape, and we don't believe in ourselves. So one thing I heard a lot in the early recovery is, "Man, I'll believe in you until you can believe in yourself." And, I use that same line on people now too, because I remember I had nothing. I didn't have a cigarette, I didn't have food, and these guys kept showing to pick me up. And I'd be like, "Man, I ain't got no money to pitch in on pizza or nothing there." I'd be like, don't be like that, And I see what it is now too, because when I got my job and I started having a little extra fundage, I was pitching in for pizza, man. I'd see the newcomer sitting there reaching in for like the last dollar or two, man. I'd be like, "Nah, don't worry about it, man. We got you." That's just giving back, giving back to my community, giving back to just the rooms of recovery. I love service work. If there's something that needs to be done, I'll get out and do it. Me and a group of guys from Men's Empowerment Group here in Mille Lacs. We went out and we were just mowing elder yards just for the fun of it. I mean, and then we were saying, if you guys can donate, that's great. If not, we're going to do it anyway. And that turned out to be a good thing, until the elder service crew got up and about to do it. We were out there just helping out, giving back to our communities, to helping out our elders. And, that's what fills my soul with happiness, doing things for others without expecting anything in return, really puts joy in my heart. It really makes me happy today. I was down in the cities witnessing history, I'll say. And, it would have been so easy to get into that negativity, to be running around, to start picking up rocks and throwing rocks and everything. But I kept reminding myself, I'm not down here for that. I'm down here just to help out any way I can. And I found out that AIM Patrol needed help protecting the businesses down there. So I teamed up with some awesome people and, stood guard at night, and just, it was awesome. We'd have a little nightly meal and ceremony every night. It's just good to take part of something positive, because I see, when we start opening our minds up and looking towards positive things in the world, we just want a little part of that. It could just be a t-shirt. It could be a wristband. We just want something positive, to take over that negative stuff that we've gone through. I've got 33 years of just hate and jealousy and resentments and everything like that. And to try to fix that in a matter of a little over 2 years is impossible. I'm going to be in recovery, learning stuff till the day I die. There is no graduating recovery. This is an everyday, lifelong process. I got to accept what I've done and use all my mistakes and all my experiences towards my power today of what not to do, how to handle situations, how to relate to newcomers, addicts, alcoholics, come into the room, because we all have that one thing in common. We're alcoholics, we're addicts. We that's one thing we have in common. We can grow off of that, And what I do too is I listen a lot to what people say, and it's helping me along with my step work too, because it reminds me of something I might have forgot, or whatever, because when I'm done doing the steps this time, I'm going to do them again. Then I'm going to do them again, because something keeps coming up, so there's a lot of, I want to say, people relapsing around this time with the lack of, face-to-face contact. And, a lot of people say Zoom meetings don't really work, but, that's the same thing I said about life. I was F my life. And somebody actually told me, said, I really actually trying to live it. And I realized I wasn't, so, when I sobered up and I started practicing recovery, and I started sharing. And I remember the first time I had to share my story was at MAID's conference. I think I was only like 4 months sober. And I cried. I cried when I was up there. I was just telling a little bit of my story. And, I was embarrassed. I was crying because, we're taught, men don't cry and everything. And but so many people came up and gave me their support and gave me props and gave me, thanked me for sharing my little part of experience that I did. And it was then I was like, man, okay, I can control a crowd, man. I'm gonna make you guys cry. I'm gonna make you guys laugh, And so I started working on telling my story. And through Sober Squad, we put together a guy named James Anderson, who was Dave Anderson, famous Dave's son. He's a motivational speaker. He came down, and the first one he did with us was called Recipes for Success. And the second one, which I loved the most, was Leadership from the Heart. That's a course where you got to get out. You got to know humility. You got to put out there and you got to exert yourself 150% if you want to pass this course. I can get up in front of a crowd and just say, yeah, let's get sober today, and feel no type of way about it. You know, it's what I love to do. I love to inspire people. I love to make people feel good about being in recovery. And because recovery is a little tough on reservations, you know, some people say it's easier, some people say it's tougher, but there's a thing on reservations is we're already so connected. And with the anonymity piece and everything like that, you know, and you come into a room, you're going to see your auntie there, you're going to see your uncle, your grandpa, your parents, and you can't really talk about what you really want to say. And to me, that's where a sponsor is critical. You know, I shopped for over a year before I asked the dude to be my sponsor, and he was more than willing. You know, we meet up every couple of days, and he's who I talk to about my real personal issues. You know, I can't carry yesterday's garbage because it gets too heavy. You know, I got to let stuff go every day. You know, that's a huge character defect for me. You know, is judgment of others. You know, I can label somebody so quick like that. And it's tough. You know, turning that mind of thinking around. You know, we are relearning everything. You know, in order for me to stay sober, I had to do a lot of self-sacrifice. You know, I had to walk away from old friends. I had to walk away from family who I still love very much, but until they want to come travel on this red road and find their own path, you know, I can't associate with that, you know, because a lot of things you are who you hang with. I hang with positive people. What's that going to make me? You know, that the last weekend I had a smile on my face all week, and I couldn't lose it because my soul was so fulfilled with helping out. And, you know, I was down there helping out, feeding homeless, you know, helping out with AIM, you know, hit a couple of meetings at 2218. And, you know, I flood myself with recovery today and finding balance in everything I do, which is, you know, like with AA, NA, you know, I like to hold meetings right here at my house, and we do it right here in my front yard. So people are riding by just looking like, oh, what's going on with them? Hey, what's going on? We pull out the drum and we start drumming and singing all through the, you know, until the night goes down. And we like to send that echo out, you know, the echoes of recovery, man, because it's everywhere. You know, I can go to any city and I can just go to the Unknown Club and bam, I got 5 new friends, you know. That's what I really love about fellowship is the one addict helping another is without parallel. You know, we get it. You know, we understand it. You know, I've taken a peer recovery coach training, you know, and my next one is going to go after the UMACAD, you know, because I do want to work in the field of helping others, you know, but you know, I don't want to lose my passion for it with a paycheck, you know, but if I can get paid for doing something I love, then it's not even really a job. You know, right now I'm just, I'm a laid off, a furloughed gas station attendant. You know, I'm not doing the greatest things right now, but you know what? I'm alive today and I'm sober today, and I'm happy with that. That's good enough for me. You know, I'm grateful for what I got. What else is going on? To the belief thing, I really got to stress on this because I think that's what I was on earlier. You know, I came in, I didn't believe in myself, and I had a group of people saying, "I believe in you. You know, you can stay sober, you can do this." Because I didn't have no clue that getting into recovery would bring all this, would bring me to you here today. You know, I started listening. Then I started practicing a few simple traditions, and I started realizing how much recovery's got to offer. You know, if you're just fearless, you know, fearless when you come in, if you're brutally honest and willing, you know, and open-minded, you are well on your way. You know, half measures avail us nothing. I'm nobody to call nobody out on their stuff, you know, but if I see somebody making a mistake or something, I will share something that I went through, you know, to, you know, try to stop them from making the same mistake. As much as we can, you know, but it's kind of sad to say, you know, that if somebody doesn't want to be helped, you know, there's no helping that person, you know. all we got to do is be here to love and support, and and start making amends, start clearing up our wreckage. I don't like the feeling of guilt overwhelming me no more. I like to be open and honest, without being brutally honest. I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings. Um, but it is a tough road. Like it says right there in the beginning of AA, nobody has been able to maintain anything like perfect adherence to these principles. The point is we are willing to grow along spiritual lines. So the only requirement is the desire to stop drinking, just the desire. There's a lot of people that that were antagonizing the group here in Mille Lacs, just because they're not fully sober, and they're saying, oh, they're fake and everything like that. That's just people that don't understand recovery. Pointing fingers. I don't get it all either, but I do to the best of my ability to help others out. We started a drum and dance, everything from canceled to COVID. So when that happened, I contacted some of the local recovery chair people, like the Red Brick and the McGizzy meeting, and we started we put all our meetings on Zoom, so we can keep continuing what we're trying to do here in Mille Lacs. And I love Zoom. I've met a lot of people with the same situations that I go through here at home. They're out in the Dakotas and Montana, Idaho, and Seattle. And it's my mission one of these days when everything lightens up a little bit to travel that way, to go hit a meeting with all these people. And I love my recovery circle, man. I love that my recovery family grows at least one person every day. I'm not alone in this. None of us are. We just got to reach out our hand, and when somebody takes that, we are well on our way. You got love and support from everybody out here. I want to share something. This little girl, she's only about 12 years old, and she was at an NA meeting with us about a year ago. And she asked me, she said, why can't you just, shake everybody up and tell them to get sober? And, I said, it don't work that way. And she goes, why not? I said, well, hold out your hand, and she put her hand out, and I grabbed it and I pulled her in real close. And, her first action was, to get back. Then I asked her, I said, okay, hold out your hand again. I reached out, covered it up with both hands, and pulled her in nice and slow. And she goes, I said, how do you feel now? And she was like, better. I was like, well, see, that's how recovery works. We can't force what we're doing on people, but we can show love and support, and that gets tough sometimes. We feel like giving up, but I keep my phone on 24 hours a day for anybody who calls. I got 2 sponsees now. I'm testing the water. I was a little nervous to test, but I talked to my sponsor about it, and he goes, if you're working the steps, go ahead and sponsor them people. I was like, oh, okay. So, all right, man. So, I was like, so I hope I do a good job with these guys, because we can only keep what we got if we give it away. And yeah, I'm just going on, we chair a nightly NA meeting on Zoom, where we've gained a real tight circle, a real room of trust in this room. People keep coming back. We get newcomers. It's just like the real life thing. I know restrictions are lightening up a little bit, lightening up a little bit. And, there's some rooms that are open, but like me, I'm not really too comfortable going, with that 6 feet and everything yet. So I love outdoor meetings. Out of respect for my community, I put this one on hold here in my front yard for another week. Maybe next week, if we'll see how it goes, and we'll have a NA meeting right here in my front yard. Other than that, there's meetings outside. I'd be at one now, but I was asked to come sit here and do this. I just want to give shots out, to all my brothers and sisters in Sober Squad, HOWA, Natives Against Heroin, Carrying the Message, all members of Wellbriety, Red Road Warriors, man, there are just groups everywhere. We out here. You just got to find us. Like me, I wear something to do with recovery every day. You know, people just come up and they talk to me about recovery. If somebody's on their way to treatment, I'm at work, and they'll be like, "Hey, I'm going to treatment." I'm like, "Yeah, hell yeah, you know, that's cool." I stop what I'm doing. I go out and I give them words of encouragement, and they remember that, you know, because when you're early, super early recovery, you know, and somebody tells you, "I believe in you," you know, you're just like, "What's that?" Because, you know, we never heard that before. You know, it's crazy. Or a simple "I love you" or "take care." "How are you doing?" I used to hate that. People always used to ask me, "Hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing?" I was like, man. Then I started catching myself doing that to people. That's simply caring, you know, um, because somebody is struggling. If somebody that is struggling helps you, that's not struggling. That's love, you know. And that's what we do, man. We do things from the bottom of our hearts. You know, we do things with sincere, with positive motives. You know, with good motives, with good thinking, and a good way. You know, it's a process. You know, sometimes, you know, when you pray, you know, you don't always get the answer you're gonna get. You know, sometimes things might get a little tough, get a little tougher, man. But you know, everybody that I know that I look up to, you know, that have, you know, a lot of like knowledge and stuff, I know they weren't just given that. You know, they had to fight for that their entire life to get to that level of being humble, you know, of acceptance, you know, and those are the ones I like to listen to because they always got good things to say. You know, when an elder listens, I mean, when an elder talks, I listen. You know, they got good knowledge, you know, good knowledge, and they're always just supportive. You know, bring them tobacco, do something nice for them. You know, I love my elders, and like I said, I want to send another prayer out to my brother in the hospital. Um, One of my favorite elders here on the res, diagnosed with COVID, and yeah, I'm kind of just bouncing off the subjects now, but you know, that's one thing I like is I like seeing newcomers succeed. You know, I've seen newcomers that I helped. They're starting to get their 1 year coins, starting to make me feel old. You know, old in recovery. But man, I still feel like a baby in recovery. You know, I'm 26 months, almost 27, and it just something just keeps reminding me every day. You know how much more there is out there. You know, I love my spiritual awakening. You know, I love noticing that there's something out there better than me. It could be the wind blowing. It could be McGizzy flying over the head, or, you know, it could be a sunrise. You know, all I know is I didn't create that. You know, something better than myself created that. You know, those are constant reminders that I'm not in control today. You know, I tried it my way. It didn't work. You know, Creator runs my life today. You know, I hang out with brothers and sisters who believed in the same thing I do. You know, they just want to see everybody get better. You know, some might call it weird, you know, but I love it, you know, and it's working for me. You know, like if somebody else in recovery is doing something I don't like, but it's bettering them, you know, that's what I got to do as a peer recovery coach is I got to support that, you know, even though if I don't agree with it and it's working for somebody else, it is my job to support them and what they're doing. You know, I don't want to be the old guy making newcomer mistakes. You know, that's growing with the program, becoming more responsible, becoming more you know, I want to say like trustworthy with my fellows. You know, if I'm going to be somewhere on time and I say I'm going to be there, I do my best to be there on time. You know, that's showing respect. You know, I respect my neighbors, man. It's just a whole new life out there. And all I got to do is I remember is sobriety comes first. You know, nothing I dream is possible if I'm using. So that's why my sobriety comes first. You know, I come first. That might sound selfish, but, you know, when it comes to self-care, you know, I got to find balance because I'm a go-getter. You know, if I'm not feeling well or, you know, whatever, my feet are hurting or something, you know, and I promise somebody I'll be there, I'll go. You know, I don't care how I'll get there. You know, I'll be there. So, you know, it's just establishing the trust with your circle, you know, which are with newcomers, you know, with people in long-term recovery, establishing that trust and that bond, you know, that's what will get you through, you know, anonymity, you know, if somebody confides in you in a problem, you know, don't share that problem with everybody. That's between you two. You know, what's between me and my creator is between me and my creator. you know, and if anybody wants to know about it, I'm more than willing to share, you know. So it feels really tough for me just to sit here on a chair and tell my story because I like to move around. I like to, you know, get the crowd involved. And I just want to say Chimigwech to everybody out there listening tonight. Recovery works, but you got to put in the work. You know, it's you got to put in the work, man. And it basically starts with being honest. You know, being honest and you know, being and working with others. You know, I know a lot of people in the group in recovery who didn't really start the step process till they were 4 or 5, 6 years in, and you know they say they love it. You know, it's these steps are, you know, they could be used by anyone, but us as alcoholics, addicts, you know, I used to use a term, you know, what I say. Religion is for people who are scared of hell, and spirituality is for the ones who have been there. And I had to rethink that one because, you know, as Ojibwe people in our culture, we don't really believe that there is a hell. You know, when when a body, when a soul leaves a body and it doesn't make it across to the other side, it kind of just wanders, you know, lost, like somebody in addiction or an alcoholism walking down the street. You just see them lost, not knowing where they're going. Um, that's what it's like. It's just like being a lost soul. So, you know, I used to, when I first came into recovery, when I would see somebody walking down the road like that, completely flailed out or whatever, or digging in the ditch for rocks or agates, whatever you call them. I didn't even know what an agate was, but I used to see these guys all digging through my rocks and my ditch and everything. I didn't know what they're doing. I was out there saying, "Get out of here!" You know, I thought they were looking for lost dope or something. But you know, I don't do that no more, man, because I realize now that was me. That was me walking around the neighborhood, just a lost soul. You know, so now I stop by them. You know, I ask people how they're doing, man. You know, is there something I can help you with, or you know, like a brother I was talking to down in Minneapolis who's at a homeless camp. You know, I was asking about what can I do today to help you, you know, get off these streets. And he didn't want to. You know, he just wanted to be free and roam around. So I left him my number. You know, hopefully he'll call for when he does want to, you know, when he does hear that little voice inside, because we all got that little voice inside of us when we're using, is that there's a better way of life. And I'm super grateful to be here today. Super grateful to be alive. I'm super grateful to be sober today. I'm super grateful for all my recovery family I got, you know, even the ones that I haven't met yet, you know. That's one of the sayings too that I go by. There's people in recovery that are your friends that you haven't even met yet. And I have met really awesome people through NA, through campouts, through conferences, you know, through Zoom, you know, through meetings. Man, it just goes on and on. My family just keeps growing more and more and more, and I'm gonna keep it going that way um, until I figure out what I want to be when I grow up. I want to be a fireman. No, I don't know, man. But you know, I'm just grateful day by day. You know, 24 hours. You know, every 24 hours that comes, that they keep getting better and better and better, and life is worth living today. You know, I'm happy I'm living today. You know, I want life to slow down a little bit because these last 26 months have just, you know, gone by just like that. You know, I want to slow down. I want to smell the coffee, man. I want to slow down and smoke some cigarettes and, you know, and it's just, it's a, it's a, it's just a mind blowing experience, the turnaround that we come through. You know, I'm super proud of everybody out there that takes that first step because I know how much courage and strength it takes to walk into a room and admit that you're powerless over something. You know, you're not powerless over everything, but you're powerless over your addiction and your alcoholism. When you by yourself and you take that first step, man, you got 24 million people across America that got your back now in recovery. You know, I'm here. There are recovery groups everywhere. You know, if there's not one, get one started. You know, if you build it, they will come. You know, so yeah, I'm just really grateful to be able to share with you guys. I wish I would have wrote something down, but then that's not leadership from the heart. You know, so uh, yeah, shout out to everybody that's out there working a program. Everybody out there that's doing some service work. I'm planning on going down to Minneapolis tomorrow to go feed the homeless camps. You know, team up with a couple of friends of mine down there and just go do some service work. Um, you know, just to see that the joy on people's faces. You know, it fills my soul to make other people happy. You know, so you know, look out for you. Do what's best for you. Take another 24. Get to a meeting. You know, I'm hosting a Zoom meeting right after this. I think the code is 601-532-2869, and the password is 456267. So I'm going to sign off here tonight, guys. Chimigwech to Red Road Warriors. I know some of you guys are out there at Devil's Lake getting your ceremony on. Hell yeah. And there was on June 24th up at Nadawash Powwow Grounds, there's a sobriety feast going on. So if anybody's in the area, want to meet there, I'm trying to find a crew to go together to get up there. So we'll work it out, man. I hope to see all of you around somewhere this summer. Stay safe with this COVID. Wear a mask, 6 feet. And yeah, prayers to everybody out there, you know, and the ones especially that can't be here today. Very few of us are able to tell our stories today. So let's remember that and be grateful. And with that, I'm going to sign off, guys. Love you guys. You guys all have a beautiful week. Aho, miigwech.